Welcome to another episode of Growing E-Commerce. I am one of your hosts, Mike Ryan.
And here's Chris.
One of our other hosts. Actually, there's just the two of us.
That's the game plan. Yeah.
Chris, ask me what I did this weekend.
What did you do this weekend?
I didn't. I saved this. This is just some rage bait. Yeah. On Sunday morning from 4 a.m. till 7 a.m, I mixed and poured over 1,500 kilos of concrete.
What? Why?
I had to pour a slab at the endless construction site.
But by the way, how is your construction site doing in general?
Well, it's endless. So,
it's endless. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if this would be taxpayer funded, then we'd be all good.
But mate, I told you before, hats off to you, man, because you are doing a fantastic job at Smack, as the people know. And you do this basically in parallel to building a wonderful house.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, I told you, I will never ever build a house on my own, because this would lead to massive friction internally and externally with my wife. Shout out again to you. But we wouldn't survive this.
It's the ultimate test.
It's the ultimate test, man.
Yeah.
What is easier, to run a highly complex PMax campaign or building a house?
Building a house. No, either way, you end up covered in dirt.
You're covered in dirt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknowns.
Yes. So
what's up for today, Mike?
Let's get into it. So first up, just following through on some kind of, I feel like, open threads from the last couple of episodes. We had an episode we were talking about kind of what themes are hot with our clients. Yes. We were talking in that episode and in the following one about high CPCs. Mm-hmm. And I want to connect the dots a little bit here, the intersection of two things. One thing that we hear a lot from clients is that they're very concerned about winning new customers and having a high share of new customers, and looking at their campaigns and tactics, like what is the share of new customers on PMax? Well, is it higher on shopping, etc.? And I also feel like there's, and I've probably been a part of this in the past too, but there's, like, let's split it up. PMax has a higher share of returning traffic, and this could be viewed as less incremental.
Yes.
And that, to me, that's logical though, because Performance Max has remarketing baked in. But both of these campaign types are actually kind of agnostic to their targeting. But I think that this is not a bad thing. That's my soapbox. Because I think that, well, hold on. Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm listening, man. As always, I'm listening.
All right, I'm gonna let me cook.
I'll let you finish
let me cook that. I mean, in a nutshell, I think that most advertisers desperately need this returning traffic and this remarketing, even if it costs them money. They desperately need it. That's my short statement.
For sure. I'm on the Mike camp, as like so many times. I think because, I mean, we had discussions about that a couple of times already. I mean, if you are, but my first question to you would be, is PMax even the right campaign type to really create new customers? Or are there better campaigns out there, let's say in the Google ecosystem, which are, just better designed by default to create this new demand for you? That is my first question.
I mean, the simple answer is no. It's not. Okay. It's not the right type, because it's bottom funnel campaign.
That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah,
exactly. So these are all people. I mean, there's a couple ways of thinking about this. These are all people who are somehow down funnel, which we can tell from their activity, the kind of searches that they do. The Google knows things about them, and if they're in market and so forth. So I mean, at that point though, they could be, it's still binary. They could be your, existing customers or new customers. But if you really want to focus on building new customers, Well, that's branding activity. That's your mid and upper funnel activity. And so actually the proper place to really be concerned about that is with demand gen campaigns,
Exactly.
which we've talked about in the past, the appropriate way of using demand gen, display campaigns, and of course across all your other channels and platforms besides Google too. It's your upper funnel.
I love that we are so consistent, because to everyone who listen to our episodes, that's what actually we have been talking about last couple of episodes, that demand gen is actually that type of campaign, which is potentially creating this new demand for you. Man, I want to come up with an example, and I don't know, I don't want to talk out of my butt here, but it's a real life example. A small sample size, because it's about me, right? I'm not a super loyalist. I mean, I know my brands where I buy. Of course, there's Zalando out there. There are big brands I buy directly at times, but most of the time, when I'm buying online, I stop my research on Google. Still, right? So I'm a good Google client, yeah. And but what I want to come up with is, let's say I bought 1 month ago something at Zalando. Right, I'm happy, end-to-end good experience for me, and I'm happy with Zalando. But the type of shop I am, I start my first research on Google, and let's say I'm looking for an Adidas sneaker. I don't know if that Zalando has it. I'm just looking for the Adidas sneaker. For Zalando and Google, I'm probably an existing client.
Yeah.
In the case that Zalando is now focusing only on new clients, the probability that a Zalando ad gets shown to me as an existing client is close to 0, probably.
Yeah.
Meaning that I probably go to a Pointer or somewhere else who has that other sneaker I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So what I want to bring up is this whole existing versus new customer fairy dust, because whenever I start my research and I'm not directly going to Zalando, I'm potentially a new customer, because if they don't ad for me or show me the ads, I will buy somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, so let's unpack that a bit. So you're on Google search, right? You're starting your shopping journey there. And let's imagine, I don't know what tech Zalando uses and stuff like that, but let's imagine they want to just focus on new customers. Then in PMax, for example, they can activate a new customer only bidding mode. So basically Google has their own system for detecting new versus return
customer
traffic.
match based, probably,
And then exactly, you can add your customer list in and say, hey, these are my existing customers, and they'll use customer match. So assuming that you are logged into Google across all the devices that you're browsing on,
which I am,
then you should not see ads. You should not see those ads for Zalando, for example, in the shopping PLAs, the shopping ads when you're on Google search and all those other places. So that's right. Zalando has just gone dark in visibility in that term, or they're depending on their organic visibility, and they're depending on your
loyalty to go directly to
exactly
Zalando.
How top of mind they really are for you. Like, obviously you have a mental map of Zalando, you know them, but so I think that this can easily go in the direction of kind of hubris or excessive pride, where just because you are an existing customer of Zalando does not mean that you are their customer. You do not belong to them.
That's a smart go, mate. Really, because this idea of, okay, it's an existing customer, I don't have to run ads for this existing customer. I think it's a fallacy, a pretty substantial one, because as you said, just because of the fact that Zalando sees me as an existing customer, where's the arrogance coming from that they assume that I'm always buying there whenever I have a new demand for a certain product? So is it, I mean, like I said, I fully understand that it's on theory a good thing to focus on new customers, but what is really an existing customer? I mean, you know what I mean? So how is it defined? And I think it's so powerful what you said. Just because I'm an existing customer doesn't mean shit in terms of my buying behavior, right? And it's literally, I'm happy with Zalando, but the case I brought up, it's a real case. I started my research on Google, and I ended up buying not at Zalando.
I mean, that's absolutely the case. I think, like, these new customer campaigns are a tactic, and you have to think like, all right, this is just one tool in the toolbox. If I'm going to use this, what can I do to make this special? Like, which products do I want to advertise? Are there ones that make special sense to advertise exclusively to new customers? Or do I want to what do I want to do with my promotions, or which landing pages are going in there? You can absolutely have tailored offers and a tailored experience and focus, have some new customer campaigns. But in the end, just to close the circle back to this high CPC thing, like we were talking last episode about the very painful upward trend of CPCs. And that's a market effect. But taking aside from that, what's happening with those levels in general, if we just imagine a static sample of CPCs, there's no trend in there. The high CPCs are going to correlate with high conversion rate and high order value. In other words, a high value per click. Google is very good at matching value per click and cost per click. And so like that's the problem actually, because everyone is using that technology. I mean, I think smart bidding adoption must be upward of 90%.
95%.
So it's not like it's your secret superpower. Every advertiser is using this technology that's very good. And so the question is, like, if Google is so sure that someone's conversion rate is going to be high and that their average order value is going to be high and that the value per click is going to be high, like, what makes them so sure? They must have data about that person. They must know that person. So that person, like, here's the next thing, like, okay, I'm willing to spend more on this valuable click. But oh man, now I feel bad because I'm spending more on a click, but it's my customer. Or is it? If everyone has access to this technology, like, if you're not bidding on them, then everyone else will be.
100%.
It's red ocean. Unless you have such a strong brand or unicorn products, whatever, that's all great. But when we're talking about the bell curve distribution of most advertisers, it's just red ocean, and this technology intensifies how cutthroat it is.
100%. And I think coming back to the definition of existing customers, as an online shop owner, where it's all about incrementality. I mean, it's a deeply red ocean out there, right? So I think you just don't have the luxury to say, okay, I want to only focus on my new customers, because existing customers, I will catch them somewhere else. I think that's a theory, and that the lines between existing and new customers is so blurred, because actually it's not about existing versus new customer. The only thing I'm caring about is revenue, and honestly speaking, I shouldn't care any about that stuff, whether it's an existing or a new customer, especially given the high pressure a lot of online shops have. Because as you said, Mike, at the end of the day, when someone ignites the research on Google, I think the whole theory about an existing customer goes out of the window. Because I should have gone to come up with Zalando again directly. I should have entered typed in Zalando.de, right? Or .at. But I didn't do this. So from that point on, I'm not an existing customer anymore.
Yeah, that's right. They're maybe in the consideration set. But by the way, they'll have diminished visibility in that set, and others will have promoted visibility. I mean, I just think that the question is this a customer acquisition channel? Like, I think it's an order acquisition. It's an order acquisition.
A revenue
channel.
acquisition.
Yeah, it's a revenue acquisition channel. And customer acquisition happens. That's definitely a part of it. And it's nice, but it's not primarily a customer acquisition channel in that sense.
Especially when you talk about, I don't know, standardized products, right? Like an Adidas sneaker where you have, I don't know, hundreds of online stores. You just can't buy it.
If you're talking about Meta or Google Demand Gen, these are more like customer acquisition channels. But
again, this is where the circle closes. That I think there are different campaign types for a reason, and I think PMax. We know that the high shopping share of PMax. I think this is. I love what you said. It's a revenue acquisition channel. That's what it is. And I think whenever you try to focus on this theoretically existing versus new customer tactic, you're leaving out a lot of market. That's what I think. And by the way, this existing customer is acquired by somewhere else. And the funny thing is, then it's also their existing customer, who I'm belonging now to, right? Zalando appointing where I'm going. So it's I don't like this theory at all, and I think it's a theory. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm bold here. I don't know.
No, go for it. I mean, Chris, the bidding strategies are called maximize conversions or maximize conversion value.
For a reason, probably.
It's not called maximize new customers. There's no such strategy in there. But
all right,
let's move on. Let's move on to the next thing. So, we've got a second topic for you today, and I mean, let's see how to connect these. I like the thing about Performance Max, for example, like, so that's a keywordless campaign type. There's no keyword targeting. It's even if you add, you can, you can add your customer match list, like we just mentioned, and they can be excluded from a campaign so that you're looking at new customers. But you cannot, if you add any other customer list in there, it's not for targeting purposes per se. Like Google calls it a signal. Yeah, it's a starting point, and it's basically like you, it's like a recommendation engine, like in Netflix or Spotify or something, where you say, "Oh, these are movies that I like or songs that I like," and then it's going to find similar ones. But actually, it doesn't know what it was you liked about them.
Yes.
It's agnostic that, or it can maybe infer it. But
for the sake of comprehensiveness, you can also add themes, right? Where you are somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You can do some positive targeting on themes that might have been missed in your feed or in your landing pages. But fundamentally, when we look at what kind of targeting you can do, there is no keyword targeting. There is no audience targeting. All that's really left in e-commerce, the core thing that's left is the product targeting. And that's the interesting part.
Yes.
So,
but there, it's a perfect the stage setting. What's the topic now?
Well, the problem is that product targeting is also very inaccurate, or often quite inaccurate.
Quite often, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Why is it inaccurate?
Well, because let's say you're advertising, let's say you're advertising a camera lens, and then you've got shopper A and shopper B. They enter your web shop and then they shop. They, although we're saying that this is a bottom funnel area that we're in, people are still browsing. That's your chance. You can upsell them and stuff like that. But in the end, your revenue in the platform is going to get attributed back to the product that was clicked. But what happens next is anyone's guess. They could buy exactly that product and leave, and it's perfect. Or they could buy the camera lens and they could buy, a tripod too, and it was an upsell, and that's beautiful. Or maybe they went for a camera bag and it was kind of a little disaster there. These are all the different shopping effects that can happen. So while you can target a product for advertising, you cannot control what happens next. That's human nature, what happens next.
And that, by the way, this is a big thing. I think to give to put this in perspective, we saw online shops where this deviation from clicked versus bought is a highly, highly significant one, right?
Yeah.
So it's not always like, it's just this 1%. No, it can be significant, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my question to you would be, and again, I mean, on paper, this is an issue. I fully understand.
Yeah.
But let's walk in the shoes of an online retailer. What is the real underlying issue, and what tactics do you have to tackle that? From your perspective, what is the issue? So there's the click product is not always the one which is getting bought, but the revenue created by the bought product is always assigned to the clicked one. Exactly. What's the underlying issue? Let's say you're an online shop owner now. What is the underlying issue from your perspective?
Well, it's about you kind of understanding what's really going on with the platform. It's about optimization as well. I mean, the platform, and by the way, I should mention that product targeting has become increasingly popular in the last few years. Like people are much more aware of, okay, that's what I'm doing here, because a lot of promotional levers and tactics fell away with the more automated campaign types. And, you get into topics like product scoring and so forth. These are pretty popular nowadays, but, and so if you're targeting on products, you might get concerned, like, but this isn't even accurate.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the way I see this is that it doesn't matter that much in and of itself. The thing is that like Google is going to, by the way, they're going to collect that order value and they'll consider that in their optimization. So it's not that the bidding and the whole system doesn't optimize this toward at all. Like if one product is consistently generating outsized average order values, Google, that's reflected in the ROAS of that product, and Google is going to know that, and that will be reflected. But
that's the point, right? So I think this is important to get this straight. It's this inaccuracy is not negatively impacting the decisions of Google.
No,
right? Because Google has the order value and understands, oh, this product is creating order value at the good ROAS, so I want to push this product.
Exactly.
All right. But Google doesn't give a flying fuck about the composition of the basket, right?
There goes our clean podcast rating for the episode.
Right. Are we concerned about that? But Google doesn't care. Google doesn't care about the composition of
we can't bring you because
Google doesn't care about the composition of the basket.
No, they don't care, or they don't know. But Google is aware that this exists.
It's aware, but they don't care about. But you should care, right?
Yeah.
This is the point.
So, and to give an example why, because we're saying, okay, the average order value, it's reflected. Google considers this in the bidding, all good. But we were talking about these different scenarios that can play out. There can also be like where this really becomes important is in the profitability of the order.
That's the point.
Because Google doesn't see this layer at all. And I don't really like, it's fine if there are these clicked versus bought effects, but there are positive effects like upsells or increased margin.
Yes.
So whether on a revenue or margin basis, there are also downsells, and then there are cross sells. Like if it's a cross sell into a different category, a different brand, do I care? Not necessarily. If the profit is intact, if all that is intact, it's okay. You might have another concern like, okay, this is actually a co-funded campaign, and I'm trying to promote a certain brand, and actually a different brand is being bought. The vendor brand wouldn't be too happy to learn about that. If you're trying to promote your own brand, and then there are brand substitutions are probably the most sensitive topic among the cross sell. But the fact is that Google doesn't care about any of these things, which can be important to your bottom line or to your strategy, your revenue mix, and these things are not by default knowable.
And to be quite frank, I mean, it's not kind of a negative Google thing. Google doesn't care because they just don't know, right? They don't know that this one brand is more important to you than the other.
No, this is something that we've said this on stage a million times too. We say like Google doesn't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault.
Exactly. Yeah. So what? Okay, so we have that. There is this inaccuracy, and then this inaccuracy might hurt you, especially with regards to your business objectives. That the composition of your basket is just not in favor of what you want to achieve in terms of brand composition. You actually want to margin, right? I mean, I think margin is probably the biggest case. What I fully understand, that you always think this product creates super strong revenue, but the actual basket is creating high revenue, but the margin of this basket is just not working.
Exactly.
What is the way out of it?
Well, Google does have a couple tools here. I mean, you can
shout out to Google.
Yeah, exactly. You can build something yourself here as well, but they have a really cool thing called conversions with cart data, which is just a little snippet of code. It's just, I don't know, several lines of code, and it doesn't matter how you're tracking conversions. There's a variant that is available for that. So you just paste this into like your tag manager, for example. You just add this to your existing conversion tracking, fire some test conversions to make sure that's working. And then you're kind of up and running, and you now know your basket composition. And you can then, this will unlock a lot of different reporting attributes, like the clicked brand and the the sold brand and the clicked item and the sold item and so on and so forth across also even like custom labels, and you can really get pretty nerdy about that stuff if you're into it. And additionally,
right?
you can also add your cost of goods sold if you dare, if you feel comfortable sharing that with Google.
Let's make a hard break here because I love this question. If you dare, my question to you would be, man, is we talk to a lot of online stores, right? And CMOs, head of e-commerce, whatever. And still, a lot of clients are hesitant to share their cost of goods sold with Google. What is your take on it?
Yeah,
I have a strong take on it. But...
All right. No, I mean, I used to work in purchasing, and so I used to handle all our costs of goods sold and figure out the list price and all this stuff. And if you're in one of these red ocean categories, like we're talking about, cost of goods sold is one of your most important levers that you have, and it is a very sensitive piece of information. You might get a cost of goods sold that's different from other retailers. For example, it might be due to your order volumes or stuff like that. There's different things that can influence this. There are some people buying, let's call it gray market as well, and this is going to influence their overall cost of goods sold. We see all kinds of stuff, and people might not want this information to fall in the wrong hands. There's also another theory that, by the way, if Google knows your margin, that they can somehow use this to tighten the screws further or something like this. I think that's tinfoil hat stuff. I don't buy that. And I think that it won't matter at a certain point, because Google has this thing called a shopping graph where they're building all kinds of data points about all the products that get advertised and that are in their feeds. And if enough people share their cost of goods sold and stuff like that, Google can reasonably infer what your margin will be too.
Yes.
But I don't know. What's your take, Chris?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you stand now. Is it rather that, yes, I mean, by the way, a +1, it's a highly sensitive information, of course. It's the one information which you actually want to keep for yourself, especially with regards to your competition. So +1 here. But at the end of the day, I mean, let's face it, Google is probably one of the most successful companies the last 100 years. And I'm talking about an average sized online retailer. Come on, man. I mean, your cost of goods sold, do you really think that Google is super interested in that? And B, if Google wants to find out what the average cost of goods sold of an industry is, mate, they know it. And what is the trade-off? You don't give your cost of goods sold data to the most successful company in the world, which is certainly not interested in your cost of goods sold data. And the trade-off is, okay, then let's optimize on maybe a wrong data set, which is not supporting my business objectives as they would if I share the cost of goods sold. I think the trade-off is pretty clear. I think the fear is unnecessary. I would go all in here, because it's all about how can I let the Google campaigns work the smartest for me. And sharing the right data points is just key. So my statement is pretty clear. Let's go for it, man.
I agree. The opportunity way outweighs the risk. And I mean, I would maybe be more scared of sharing stuff like that with Amazon.
No, fair point. By the way, here,
seriously,
I'm again on the mic campaign. Yeah, you're right.
These are different companies with different business models, different philosophies, and everything. And I really, I would
be hesitant to advertise on Amazon in the first place. Yeah, right. I'm even more defensive here. But you're right. This is a different case.
But if you make that decision to integrate that, and by the way, there are other ways you can because you can bid towards profit using server-side tracking and stuff like that. Google also has we've talked about their GitHub repository before. They have something called Soteria, which is for profit bidding, and it's secure. But the thing is that if you do it this way, then you get this profit dimension to all of this reporting as well. So it becomes really interesting, because you not only get like the cross-sell metrics for brand and all this other stuff, but you also get profitability metrics layered into this too.
Yeah,
and
it's
this becomes a formidable data set.
100%. Because we all know that the PMax is working, right? PMax is taking the right decisions.
Yeah.
If you really empower PMax to take the right decisions based on your true profit, yeah, for me, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, one question I have, Mike. Honestly speaking, I'm not sure if we have done this lately, but I can remember some cases where the client was also hesitant to share the cost of goods sold for. Like I said, I understand the reasons, but for me, the trade-off is so clear.
Yeah.
You can actually modify the cost of goods sold, right? Because it's just a number for Google, or put a factor of 3.33 behind it.
Yeah, true.
Could you do this? And
yeah, you could do this, and then you would just need to kind of decode
it in
math.
math.
Yeah,
but for Google, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're using, because they have a profit bidding that's in beta, and I don't know if you'd want to do it. I'd have to think about that. But for sure, for reporting, if you're just using it for reporting purposes, then absolutely you could cipher it a bit. Yeah.
All right, man. Time flies.
Yeah, I think that's it, Chris.
I enjoyed it as always.
Me too. Nice soup, by the way.
Yes, and don't ask me again if I do the outro. It's not the time yet. The Christmas episode is probably the time where I give it a shot.
I think we're like 3 episodes away. Yes, that'll be our final episode.
I'm already nervous, man, because your intro and outro is just next level,
and
everything between. So it's just the night before the podcast is the one night I'm always a bit under pressure.
'Twas the night before the podcast.
Yes, the night. A great movie.
The night before.
Topic. Yeah, the night before the podcast.
Yeah.
We can maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
we can, no, really, because it feels like I'm always talking to a person who is smarter than me.
No, Chris, come on.
Yes.
I'm not smarter than
I just want to share my feelings, man. It's really, but I think it was a good episode.
Well, your feelings are valid but wrong. And on that note,
and I don't care about their feelings in the first place.
And on that note,
yeah,
we're bringing another thrilling episode to a conclusion. So this has been another episode of Growing E-commerce, brought to you by Smarter E-commerce. To learn more, visit smarter-ecommerce.com. And please, if you enjoy this podcast, share it with your friends or your colleagues. Give us a rating or a review on the podcast platforms. I think we only have 5-star reviews so far, so that's really cool.
Wow.
And yeah, thanks very much. We'll catch you next time.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.